going on, y'all? Haven't really talked to you guys since I did my last rhyme of the day. And I usually post up a lot about my music for the most part, but I'd like to switch topics. I told you guys at the beginning of the week that I was going to be dropping a video one of these days near the weekend concerning the official announcement of the Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor super fight. Also wanted to give my thoughts on the upcoming fight tomorrow night between Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev, the rematch for the three belts that Andre Ward won from Sergey Kovalev back in November. And I also want to give my thoughts on some other fights, including the Triple G Canelo Alvarez fight. And also want to, I'll get into more detail about these fights tomorrow when I really get a chance to sit down and give you my breakdown on who I think is going to win and why I think they're going to win. Right now, I just want to give just a few little brief thoughts and notes on these fights and how I feel about them. So first, to go take a look at the Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor announcement. Now, this has been a long time coming. There's been a lot of speculation, um, a lot of hearsay. He said. Is it going to be made? Is Dana White going to be able to work with the money team and get it sorted out? Is it a fair playing field with an MMA fighter stepping into the boxing ring with what could widely be considered an all-time great in the sport of boxing? Um, how would the money play out? Would Floyd be fair? Would he want a certain percentage of the purse? Um, and if he didn't get it, would the fight happen or not? And all these things were answered to a certain extent this week when they made the announcement. And I'll get into it more in my official breakdown, but I guess my main thoughts and takeaways from this announcement, um, I really don't know how to feel. But I do know one thing for certain: there can be two outcomes. This could be a really good fight. This could be an exciting fight where people walk away and think, "Wow, um, this was really worth me paying my money and taking time out of my day to sit back and watch this with friends." Or it could be another case of the super fight that got hyped up and turns into another May Pack where you have a lot of casual boxing fans all excited. You go to the office and say, "Oh, who do you think's gonna win, McGregor or Mayweather? I think this, that, and the third." And then the fight comes around and it's a snooze fest. And then what happens? They're like, boxing is trash. I should have never paid for this fight. See, this is why I don't watch boxing. It's why I watch MMA. Let's be done with it, right? And it's just going to push the casual fans away after drawing them in for yet another money grab. So those are kind of the two ways I see this playing out. I don't necessarily know if McGregor has the skill to make it a competitive fight. I think that he has a puncher's chance. He is a fighter, but getting into that boxing ring is a different sport. It's almost like comparing, I guess, playing cricket to playing baseball. You're still swinging a bat or what have you at a ball, but are different rules to how you play the game. Um, if you haven't been in that sport, been in that scenario for a long time and gotten used to that, gotten adapted to that way of fighting, that set of rules, that set of parameters, then it's a whole different world when you step in the ring with a Floyd Mayweather, let alone um, a B level or a C level fighter, because you just aren't used to that. And the same thing would go to Floyd. I don't think that he would be competitive with Conor whatsoever in the octagon, let alone be competitive with a B or C level MMA fighter. Um, that's just the way I see it. So we'll see, and I'll give my thoughts tomorrow and really tell you why I think what I think about that. Moving on to the Ward Kovalev fight, that is the most intriguing one. This Mayweather McGregor fight, it's a money grab and it is what it is. But this is one of the fights that you need to be paying attention to, and it's Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev, Part Two. And I'll tell you why. If you don't know, you aren't familiar with the first fight, you might have heard that it was a controversial decision to say the least. And a lot of people that left that arena felt as though Kovalev not only won, but the man got robbed. He got robbed for his belts. Um, Either Andre Ward or James Prince or those judges, they came in there with that ski mask on and they just swiped this dude for them belts. That was the general consensus after that fight. Now, I know there are a lot of people that felt as though Andre Ward could have won or that he did win. I'm not in that demographic. I feel as though Sergey Kovalev won the first fight. I thought he won it um, not in dominant fashion, but I thought he won it decisively. I had it 7-5 rounds for Kovalev, and that was including the knockdown. I think that he beat Andre Ward by a round, and that knockdown he had in the second round, I thought I thought that was the difference. I could even see it 8-4 for Kovalev with that knockdown. I couldn't find more than four decisive rounds to give to Andre Ward. Um, I guess just to kind of condense this into a nutshell and not drag this video out too long, I felt as though Sergey Kovalev was dominant for the first half of the fight. Rounds one, two, um, three, four, and six, I had going to Sergey Kovalev with a pretty nice knockdown in the second round. I thought that Andre Ward kind of got his bearings back to his credit and was able to hold on in that third and fourth round and get a good fifth round in the bank. Not a dominant round, but he definitely won that round. I had it 5-1 Kovalev up to that point. And I feel as though in the second half of the fight, if I had it scored 5-1 for Kovalev, it's really more like 6-1 because that knockdown gives him an extra point. So I felt as though, and not just me, you can look at people that were ringside. For example, you can look at Roy Jones, who also said after the fight that he felt as though Andre Ward had to win all six of those final rounds to get a draw or possibly a win in that fight. Um, and he didn't do that. I know a lot of people felt as though he came back and won the majority of those rounds. I thought he did a lot better. I thought he won four out of those final six rounds, but that's good, but it's not enough. If you won one of those rounds in the first six and you won four in the last six, it means you got 5 rounds. So you won 5 rounds and you lost 7 rounds and you also got knocked down once. So what does that tell you? It tells you that you did better, but you didn't do enough to win the fight. Um, and I will just put a disclaimer out here, and this doesn't just apply to this fight, but I, I really felt as though I need to make one of these videos to speak out against a lot of the pro race channels, whether it's pro white or pro black channels, that feel as though they have to cater to a certain subset of fighters just because they're white or just because they're black, not necessarily because they're great fighters. And I particularly have a problem with a lot of the pro-black channels because they'll support a fighter like Andre Ward or and I'll give you my thoughts on this later, or a fighter like Floyd Mayweather just because they're black, and get mad at other people when they give their criticism towards said fighter, but not really give a constructive answer back. They'll just say, well, oh, you're just hating. Oh, you just don't like him because he's black. It's always been racism in boxing, and they're just trying to do this to hold the black man down, but they'll never really give you a reason as to why that person was justified in fighting or acting the way they did. They'll just say, oh, well, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And I just can't buy that. Um, I really have a problem with that. And I feel like that needs to be cleaned up, not just in boxing, but in music and in other forms of entertainment, other sports. Um, Same thing goes for baseball. You have a lot of Dominican baseball players tearing it up in Major League Baseball, and they don't. The hierarchy doesn't like that. They don't want to see um, the good old American boys being one upped instead of just rooting for the best player and bringing that back full circle to boxing. It's like there are things about the Floyd Mayweathers and the Andre Wards of the world that I don't particularly care for, but yet you won't support the black fighters that are real fighters that go in there to box, give a good show, and win belts. The true champions, like the Timothy Bradleys or the Anthony Joshuas, who you just saw win a huge fight against Klitschko just recently. Like that's a real fighter taking on the best to get the belts. That's what competitive sports is supposed to be about. Why aren't Terence Crawford, Earl Spence, who just went over to England and beat Kell Brook for that belt, went across the pond and got the stoppage? Why not support those black fighters? Why support black fighters that don't take on challenges or only take on risk when the reward is high and the risk is low? So that's kind of what I don't understand, and why I feel like needs to be addressed. But moving on, I felt as though Kovalev won the first fight. Um, he didn't get a fair decision, but that is what it is. We're to the rematch, and what's important now is that we get a good competitive fight on an even playing field. Tomorrow, I'll give my breakdown on what I feel as though each fighter does well, um, what each fighter can work on, and who I think is going to win. Um, and then on to the third fight that I wanted to talk about, which is the Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo Alvarez fight happening in September. And this is one that I'm really, really excited for, even more so than the Ward Kovalev fight, because this is one that we've been waiting for a while. And it's later than we would have wanted, but it's not 5 years too late like Mayweather Pacquiao. This might be 1 year too late, but Triple G is still a dangerous fighter, still a shark in the waters, and Canelo Alvarez has improved, um, and he is at the peak of his abilities as of now, and we're getting two very good fighters at their best. And I feel as though this has been a long time coming, and I think that hopefully this can be, I guess, the icing on the cake with respect to the Mayweather McGregor fight, because even if you have fans coming out of that fight upset that that fight was bad, maybe they'll be excited that, hey, maybe this one was bad. We knew it might have been a mismatch. Blah blah blah. Da da this, da da that. But we have a real competitive matchup coming up after this one. Right? We have two fighters at their best that we've been dying to see. You have one guy who is a knockout artist. You have this other guy, Canelo Alvarez, who has had competitive fights. Maybe not as of recent, but he's had competitive fights in the past. Win or lose, whether you thought he won or not, he's had tough fights. You know, so this is one that I'm really looking forward to, and I'm going to give my thoughts on that tomorrow as well. Um, tell you where I feel as though their strengths and their weaknesses are, and what I think is going to happen. But I really wanted to drop this video just to give my 2 cents on just the state of boxing in general, because it just really bothers me. Some of the channels that I really like, I want to give a shout out to Thunderdome Boxing Talk, Counterpunch Boxing, um, and we've had not many, maybe one disagreement about a fight, but for the most part, he brings the facts. Is very knowledgeable, respects the art form, and I can never be mad at that. And we need to have channels like that. Another one, True Schools Boxing, and then Strictly Boxing News. Those are four that really stand out to me. Oh, Precise Presenter is another really good one. Just they all more or less give you an unbiased, real take on what they think is going on in the world of boxing, whether it's a matchup or whether it's um, giving you their 2 cents on which boxers are the best in the sport at this time and which ones aren't doing the things that they should be doing or respecting the sport. So those are channels that you should check out if you get a chance. And yeah, I'll be talking more about this tomorrow, but I hope that I gave you a little insight into what's going on in boxing right now. Um, just like to take a little sidebar from music here and there when I can, and just let you know what else I'm interested in and give you my 2 cents. Till tomorrow. Peace.